Well, our lawsuit climate is among the worst in the country. Somebody who knows a little bit more about that. It's Curt Mercadante, spokesperson for the U.S. Chamber Institute for Legal Reform. Curt, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on with us. So, hard to believe, Illinois down near the bottom, 48 out of 50.
Yeah, we've been doing this survey since 2002, and since then, Illinois has ranked toward the bottom. The last 8 times we've done it, they've been in the bottom 10, and now they've fallen again. Now they're in the bottom 3. Which isn't good for the business climate, isn't good for the people of Illinois, and isn't good for the overall climate of Illinois as well.
When we talk about legal fairness toward business, what are we discussing, Curt?
Sure, we're talking about places where companies, either get sucked into court for frivolous litigation or a lot of litigation. I mean, I'll take, for example, Cook County and Madison County, Illinois, are ranked and have been for several of these surveys in the bottom 10 in terms of the worst jurisdictions, least fair and reasonable jurisdictions. If you look at Madison County, Illinois, small little Madison County, Illinois, across the river from St. Louis, it's known as basically the world capital of asbestos litigation. Some estimates point that 1/4 to 1/2 of all the asbestos lawsuits in the entire country are filed there. I know 2 years ago there were more lawsuits filed from people in Texas than there were from people in Illinois. About 90% of asbestos lawsuits filed there, are from people outside of Illinois, and about 98 to 99 are from people outside Madison County. So people are flocking there. It's a friendly jurisdiction, and people from around the country take their asbestos litigation there.
And this has become known as litigation tourism.
Exactly. Right. And one reason that's bad is our survey. We use the respected global polling company Harris Interactive, and they survey about 1,200 senior attorneys at major corporations. I mean, these are people that invest and create jobs. 75%, we've been asking this question every time we've done it, this is the highest it's been, 75% of those respondents say that a company or a state's legal climate impacts important decisions such as where to locate, do business, locate operations, etc. So if you have a great legal climate, that's great in terms of businesses wanting to come there. If not, it's pretty clear that your reputation hurts companies wanting to come there, locate, do business, invest.
Curt Mercadante with us, spokesperson, U.S. Chamber Institute for Legal Reform. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. You mentioned asbestos litigation, of course, and we have workers' comp issues, too, we know, in the state. The governor is pushing hard for more workers' compensation reforms. We hear about businesses moving virtually every day, and some of them go right on the record and say, yeah, I'm saving millions in workers' comp insurance costs just by moving across the Indiana border. How big of a problem is workers' comp in Illinois?
It's a problem, and you mentioned the governor. This afternoon at 2 p.m., we're actually standing with Governor Rauner at the Thompson Center in Chicago to officially release the Illinois results of the survey. And, as part of the governor's turnaround agenda, he's made it clear that legal reform, tort reform, has to be part of that. He's talked about workers' comp reform. He's talked about something called, tightening venue requirements. I mentioned all those lawsuits flocking to Madison and also Cook County. That would tighten up and place some reasonable requirements on where lawsuits could be filed, so we don't have that. Cuts down on the litigation tourism, not only from outside the state coming into the state, but also within the state. File your lawsuit where the alleged activity actually took place.
Looking at the climate around, and you map us out 48 out of 50, but as we look around bordering states, they're doing something right in Iowa, it would appear.
Yeah, all the neighboring states, come out better than Illinois, which isn't a good thing. I know that there's a lot of competition when it comes to business climate, when it comes to economic climate. I mean, you've had governors from Indiana, even all the way from Texas, coming in, right, and giving speeches, putting up billboards about their business climate is better. And, some states get it in terms of that competition and competing for jobs, competing for investment. Illinois, if they got it, and the governor does, but for a long time, we've been doing this survey since 2002, and Illinois is ranked toward the bottom. I mean, if they want to get in that competition for jobs, for investment, they got to get in the game and pass some meaningful legal reform.
Curt Mercadante with us, spokesperson, U.S. Chamber Institute for Legal Reform. When you look toward the top of the list, I mentioned Iowa's 4, but 1, 2, 3. What does a friendly, fair, not even friendly, I guess, right? That's not what you're asking for. You just want fair fairness. What does a fair environment here for business look like?
Well, you look at a number of states, not just our neighboring states, but you take, say, for instance, West Virginia. I mean, they've ranked toward the bottom. But this spring, this survey hadn't yet been completed, but they've looked at their rankings. They had a complete overhaul of their legislature in last year's elections, and they passed some sweeping legal reforms. When you talk about asbestos litigation, I mean, one bill that they passed provided transparency in terms of these bankruptcy trusts. You probably see the ads on TV in terms of people filing from bankruptcy trust to bankruptcy trust, and provide some transparency so that the courts can know who's filing and who's getting what money from what trusts, so that true victims can get their due, and these bankruptcy trusts don't dry up. We talk about venue reform. I mean, a number of states have passed venue reform. I think that has been a centerpiece of Governor Rauner's agenda, is called for venue reform. And when you look at the asbestos problems here in the magnet jurisdictions like Madison County, I mean, that's something that would have an immediate impact on Illinois' legal climate.
You mentioned in your piece as well a law signed late 2014 by the outgoing governor, that'd be Pat Quinn, to lift any time limits on filing certain asbestos cases, could consolidate even more cases here. So what, on the way out, there's no time limit, you file whenever you want?
Right. There were a few bills that he passed on his way out the door that were personally being lobbied for by the plaintiffs' lawyers here. Wall Street Journal actually took some shots. The Chicago Tribune took some shots at it as a giveaway. And it literally was, it was in the special session on the way out the door, 11th hour. He passed it. I know at that point, the Governor-elect Rauner said, let's not move on anything huge until I come in and we can negotiate it. But they sailed that through, and it's something that due to the makeup of the legislature could not be undone this year. But I think it's a clear sign, and wasn't even my words, but if you look at the Wall Street Journal and the Tribune, that it was a clear giveaway.
Curt Mercadante with us, spokesperson, U.S. Chamber Institute for Legal Reform. New study out today on legal fairness. Illinois toward the bottom, way toward the bottom. Curt, why is this important? Well, 75% of senior company attorneys said a state's lawsuit environment is likely to impact important business decisions. That means where to locate, where to expand, here instead of there. And that's an 18% increase in the past 8 years from those lawyers saying that's a really important factor. That, as I mentioned, impacts where companies locate, where they expand, and a state's economic fortunes.
Absolutely. And you look at governors. I mean, the governor of Texas. I mean, take away the presidential aspirations and all that. I mean, he has put on a full court press, as have other governors, to attract new jobs and new business. And when you look at these governors, the number one thing they mention, I mean, Texas, for instance, has passed some great legal reforms over the past decade. And people have pointed as that's one reason, they call it the Texas miracle, and jobs flowing into Texas and the number one job creation state. And people have pointed to that as a main reason for that. And I know Governor Rauner would love to get in that game in terms of touting, hey, we've passed some meaningful legal reforms. We want jobs and businesses to come here. But there's a legislature problem.
Yeah, legislature problem. Nothing
overwhelming legislature problem.
Nothing we haven't heard 1,000,001 times here in this state.
Right.
Curt Mercadante, thanks a lot for taking time out of your day. Excellent job on this report. I hope people avail themselves of the opportunity to look it all over, and maybe we can get those changes made and say hey to the governor for us.
Absolutely, and we're launching a national ad campaign. If you go to instituteforlegalreform.com, you can view the ads there. It's kind of a takeoff of SportsCenter, and we have a fictional coach talking about the rankings being in. So you can take a look at instituteforlegalreform.com.
Outstanding. Curt, thanks for the information this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.